up the tempo. Let me switch up the tempo. I wanna switch up the tempo. Can I switch up the tempo? Switch up the tempo. Can I switch up the tempo? Switch up the
Hello, you guys. Welcome back to another video. This is my first voiceover, so let me know how y'all like this. But today, I'm going to be doing a partial sew-in, thin hair sew-in tutorial for you guys. This is the braid down portion. So I'm doing this sew-in on my mom. She has thin hair just like I do. And to start off, I like to do 2 anchor braids just to make sure everything lays super flat, and when I'm done I can finish off with a solid track so everything's nice and even, because I don't like when I'm done then I have like a weird track at the top. So I'm gonna do everything flat. My 2 anchor braids are my favorite. I do a beehive pretty much 90% of the time because I feel like it goes with everyone's hair texture. And I mainly do versatile sewing, so the beehive works perfect with that. If I was doing like a closure sewing or something, I wouldn't do a beehive. I would braid it like straight down or to the back. I also do a beehive with flip over, so I feel like 90% of the time I do a beehive. I don't always do anchor braids. It just depends on the person's head and if it's a side or middle part. Like, I pretty much do my braid patterns based off the person's head, their hair texture, what look they're going for, what sewing it is. So you might not see me do the same braid pattern like to a T every time. So I'm just gonna braid everything back, and then after my 2 anchor braids, you guys will see me do the beehive. So when I start my beehive, you guys will see that I'm going to do the first braid a little bit thicker because this is like the anchor braid going around. And if you do it too small or too thin, the braid will loosen up, especially when you start sewing. The braid will loosen up and then the hair will just fall out. Like as time goes by, the braid is just going to loosen and lift up off the neck. So I don't do this braid too far down since she does have thin hair. And I do it a lot thicker so that I know that the braid is going to stay on there. You guys see me putting edge control on the hair because it helps me braid a little bit better and more sturdier when there's thin hair, because it literally feels like you're braiding nothing. Like, not even trying to be funny, it literally feels like you're braiding nothing. So it just makes it a little bit more sturdy. And I do start either behind the ear or in front of the ear, wherever I feel like it will be less tension. I find that by the ear is a lot less painful than starting a whole bunch of braids at the top of the head. I don't like a lot of tension, so I do my braid patterns based off of where I think it won't hurt. Alright, so at the top you see I did not braid those 2 anchor braids into my beehive braid because I'm going to sew them all together at the end. If you try to add those braids in, sometimes it'll make your beehive braid bulky. So I like to keep those out until I'm completely finished with the beehive and then add it in. You guys see me put in extra braiding hair into the braid. I like to just feed it in and keep on going. I don't stop to add braiding hair on top. Some people add the braiding hair on top, but I feel like if you feed it in, it's a lot less seamless, a lot more seamless rather. And then in the back you'll see that I'm not going to braid all of the hair on the nape of her neck. You're going to see me pulling some of the hair down, because if I braid every piece of hair, that's going to hurt on the back of her neck. So I pull out the pieces that I feel like will be tension, and then I keep on braiding around. I also do this on the sides of the head too. If I feel like it'll be too much tension braiding the edges in, I'll just keep them out. It really just depends on how the person's edges look, and I go from there. I'm just going to continue the beehive going around. Like I said, I'm doing bigger sections because it'll make the braids more sturdier and I won't have to worry about those braids falling out over time. Alright, so as you can see, I'm keeping this second braid really close to the first braid because I want it to be easier for me to sew a track right along this braid as if it's one solid braid, even though it's two. If it's too separated from the first braid that I started behind the ear, then there will be a disconnect when you're trying to sew the track right there, and it won't be seamless at all, and you'll be able to see the braid when the client flips their hair back. So braiding these two braids close together is like the key. Like, you want to make sure everything is like nice and close together, because it's already bad enough that we can't braid the back braids like really close together. When the hair is thicker, you can put the braids super close together. I still keep a little bit of room because I feel like the hair needs to breathe. You need to be able to put oil in your scalp. I don't use nets. That's the thing. I don't use nets at all unless it's requested. So you guys are probably wondering, like, why didn't you use a net for this braid down? I personally don't need a net because I know that my braid pattern isn't going to loosen up. So that's why I don't use nets. It's definitely a personal preference. I feel like people who use nets, they feel like it's more secure, so that's why they use it. I never had to use it. I only use it when people request it. Again, as I go, you guys will see me add the edge control to the hair just to make sure everything stays in place and my parts are even and neat. That's a big thing with me. I like everything to be nice and neat because, yeah, the sewing will look right afterwards, but I feel like underneath the sewing is important as well. A lot of people don't pay attention to the underneath. They'll braid it however they want and then, you know, make sure the sewing looks like perfect afterwards. But I feel like it starts with the foundation. The foundation needs to be perfect as well. So I use the edge control to help me part and to keep everything nice and neat. Alright, so this section is the most important to me. I feel like if you make the braids a little bit closer in the middle, it'll be easier to add your tracks really close together so that it's seamless. In the back, your braids will tend to be a little bit more spaced out because you want to make the sections bigger so that the braids will stay on there and they won't loosen up quick. Because when you go to sew on top of a braid that's already loose, like it's not too sturdy, that braid is just going to detach and the hair will just be flopping back there. So to prevent that, I do the braids a little bit thicker, and then towards the middle I make up for it by making the braids closer together, because I know in that area I can pretty much sew everything together and nothing will come down. So you guys will see me finishing off the beehive, and when I'm done I'll sew all the braids down, filling in that space in the middle. Alright, so as you can see, everything is nice and flat. It just makes it easier to have a flat install if your braids are smaller and close to the scalp. Right here is where I'm going to sew all 3 braids together. I sew the 2 anchor braids going down, And then I'll add it into the Beehive, cut the extra hair off past her natural hair, and then I'll braid towards the middle where that space is, or I'll sew towards the middle where the space is, just to kind of close everything up. Alright, so in this video I did not show you guys that I oiled her scalp. I did oil her scalp with wild growth oil and I massaged it in. I do that with every client, any braid pattern. I like to make sure the scalp is hydrated. You guys know I'm very big on oils, so I definitely have to oil the scalp. And then you guys will get the partial sewing tutorial next, so stay tuned.
You remember the time when we fell in love, 'cause I remember the night when you had enough of my creeping.